revealed the amazing journey of a maid's daughter, a hidden musical prodigy transforming lives. In the heart of a small town, where gossip spreads like wildfire and every door hides secrets, Maria sat by the window of their cramped apartment. She watched as life passed her by, dreaming of something bigger. Her mother, a devoted maid, worked long hours for families that barely thought about her when they pulled on expensive shoes and hurried out. Each day, Maria was reminded of the sacrifices her mother made. The weight of those sacrifices pressed down on her like a heavy blanket. They lived modestly, but that didn't crush Maria's spirit. No, it ignited a fire within her. One fateful afternoon, while wandering the local community center, she stumbled upon an old piano huddled in a corner, covered in layers of dust. It was as if the universe was whispering to her. Since that moment, everything changed. Maria pressed her fingers against the keys, and the sound that echoed was unlike anything she'd ever heard. Each note carried her dreams beyond the confines of their suburban neighborhood, beyond the limitations placed on her by mere circumstance. Days turned into weeks, and Maria poured herself into playing, creating passionate melodies that danced off the walls of the center. But with that talent came judgment. The whispers among her classmates grew louder. What does she know about music? She is just a maid's daughter, they sneered. Yet, Maria remained undeterred. With music, she could escape the suffocating limitations of her reality. Truly escape. Then the talent show loomed on the horizon like an open door. The excitement twisted in her stomach like a hopeful butterfly, but it was shadowed by an onslaught of doubt from her peers. They rallied against her audacity. How dare she dream big? Would she even dare to step into the spotlight? Before she could consider the show, the ground beneath her shifted violently. Her mother lost her job because of company cutbacks. Their world flipped upside down. Panic flooded Maria's heart. How could she pursue her dreams when the stability of their home was crumbling? The weight of her family's needs pressed heavily against her heart. A storm brewing inside her. In a moment of pure desperation, when the community was seeking support, Maria took a chance and performed at a fundraiser. She poured every ounce of her struggle into that song. Her voice cut through the noise, stirring something deep within the crowd. Tears streamed down faces, and for a moment, they all felt the beauty hidden in hardship. The applause was thunderous, but Maria heard her mother's sacrifices echoing in each clap. Could this truly be the beginning? At that performance, a slick industry agent appeared, eyes narrowed in skepticism. He underestimated her talent purely based on where she came from. Rage ignited inside her, fueling her determination. In the climactic moments of her performance, she poured her soul into each note, revealing not just her extraordinary skill, but her entire story, a tale of resilience and dreams trapped in a world of despair. As her melodies soared, the crowd fell silent, awestruck. Would it be enough to shift the hearts of those who looked down upon her? Yet, success came at a price. The bond with her mother began to fray, pulled apart by the weight of conflicting dreams. In the aftermath of the chaotic performance, Maria longed for reconnection, a moment to express her hopes, but fate intervened. The future hung in balance. Would ambition tear them apart or bond them together? The air crackled with tension, unwavering, filled with a question that lingered in the shadows. How far would Maria go to lift herself and her loved ones from hardship? The days following the fundraiser were a blur. Maria felt an unsettling mix of exhilaration from her performance and a growing emptiness at home. Each evening, after her mother returned from yet another exhausting day of looking for work, the once warm and inviting conversations turned cautious and strained. Each word felt like snowflakes drifting slowly, beautiful yet cold, disappearing in the friction of unspoken concerns. "How was your day, Maria?" her mother would ask, fatigue painted across her face. "Fine, just fine," Maria would reply, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Beneath the surface, anxiety was boiling over. Her mother had done so much, and every note Maria played now served as a reminder of the dual weight they carried, dreams against reality. One afternoon, after one more round of failed job applications, Maria stood by the dusty piano. The vibrant notes no longer made her feel invincible. They echoed her mother's worries and sacrifices. She remembered why she started playing, the wish to create beauty in their humble lives. With rough hands and even rougher days, her mother had poured all her love into Maria, nurturing the glimmer of hope that lay within her. Maria made a decision. That night, she would confront her mother. She wanted to break down the walls between them. But when the moment arrived, it didn't go as planned. Sitting across from her at the tiny kitchen table, she took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I want to go further with this music thing. I think I could really make a difference." Her mother raised her eyes, heavy with weariness and something else, fear. "Maria, we need to be practical. We can't risk everything for dreams. I can't lose you too." "What do you mean?" Maria's heart raced. "This is my chance. I could turn everything around for us." Her mother shook her head, tears brimming. "I risked everything when I had you. I can't watch you chase illusions while our lives crumble. I need you here." The word stung, slicing through Maria's resolve. She had always seen her music as a lifeline, but to her mother, it felt like a gamble. That night, silence flooded the apartment, suffocating them both under the weight of unspoken dreams and fears. In the following days, Maria struggled to find her rhythm. The community center became a refuge again, a place where she could lose herself in melodies. She sought solace within the keys, pouring out the turmoil bruising her spirit. But each note reminded her of the risk, the tension, and the distance growing between her and her mother. The talent show was coming soon, and whispers about her potential carried through the air like wildfire. More doubts surfaced. What if she failed? What if she succeeded? She wanted to prove everyone wrong, to be more than the Maid's daughter. But what if it meant losing her mother in the process? Out of desperation, she doubted her choice to pursue music and questioned the very core of her dreams. Just when she thought she might have to set it all aside, another chance crossed her path, a major music competition with real prize money. The temptation swirled in her mind, but nerves twisted at her insides. Could this be the turning point? Was it time to take that leap? With a decision hovering just out of reach, Maria felt the pulse of hope pounding against her heart. She needed a plan, a way to reconcile her dreams with her mother's fears. Would she dare to face not only the competition, but also the struggle tugging at her family? The stage was set, and Maria stood at the edge of her destiny, teetering between hope and fear. Would she find the courage to move forward, or would the weight of her family keep her rooted in place? As she laid her fingers on the piano keys that night, the only thought racing through her was, what awaits when she takes that leap? The familiar sound of the community center buzzed around Maria, a blend of laughter and chatter that always felt like a warm embrace. But today, the joy seemed distant. She sat at the piano, fingers poised above the keys, but she was frozen. Her mind drifted to her mother's face, etched with worry. What if this was all just a fantasy? Gnawed at her. But then, a glimmer of determination broke through the fog. She thought of the music competition, the one she had only whispered about to herself in the lonely corners of her room. This was it. Breathing deeply, she closed her eyes and began to play. Notes spilled forth, each one a heartbeat, each chord a step toward the possibility of change. As the melodies danced through the air, they carried fragments of hope, joy, and the memories of evenings spent dreaming of a brighter future. But the moment was bittersweet. Maria felt the weight of her mother's expectations pressing on her chest. She would need to confront that fear head-on. The realization hit her hard. She had not only to battle her own doubt, but also to guide her mother away from hers. Days turned into a blur of rehearsals, and fleeting conversations. Each moment spent playing was met with echoes of her mother's hesitant words, causing her resolve to waver. What if her music led her away from home, from everything they'd built together? Would she simply become another dreamer lost in the grand smoke and mirrors of ambition? The night of the talent show came quickly, and the center pulsed with energy. Friends and neighbors filled the rows, clapping and cheering. Maria stood backstage, nerves twisting her stomach. The air felt thick, as if every breath was weighted with doubt. She glanced out at the audience. They weren't just there to watch. They were there because they believed in her even when she was struggling to believe in herself. How could she let them down? The call for her to perform echoed through the dimly lit backstage. Her heartbeat quickened, the pulse thrumming in her ears. What would they think of the Maid's daughter? She wondered anxiously. But then, a reassurance wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Just play, she whispered to herself. Stepping onto the stage, Maria took a moment to inhale the energy of the crowd, filling her lungs with courage. She placed her fingers on the keys, feeling their coolness beneath her skin, grounding her in this moment. As she began to play, her heart opened up. Each note felt like a ribbon unraveling the burden she carried, the fears, the dreams unrealized. The audience fell silent, spellbound by the sheer emotion spilling from her music. But then she caught a glimpse of her mother, seated front row, her eyes wide with shock and an emotion Maria couldn't quite place. It wasn't just fear, it was wonder. In that moment, Maria played for more than just herself. She poured out all the dreams they had suppressed, all the sacrifices made in silence. With each passing second, her confidence grew, and she surrendered to the music completely. When she finished, the room erupted with applause, but one face drew her gaze. The smile blooming on her mother's face sent waves of warmth washing over her. Had she truly broken down the walls that felt so insurmountable? As she stepped off the stage, tears stung her eyes, blending joy and relief. But before she could bask in the afterglow, she spotted a flyer for the music competition plastered to the wall. Her heart raced again. She had succeeded here, but could she take that leap? The crowd bustled around her, laughter mixed with clapping, but the glimmer of her next challenge hung heavy in the air. Would she leap again, or would she let fear take the reins? The question throbbed like a drumbeat. What would her next step sound like? Maria stepped into the midst of the celebration, the din of applause still ringing in her ears. It was as if the echoes of her performance danced with the crowd, wrapping around her like a safety net. She felt light, buoyed by an exhilarating mix of triumph and uncertainty. But the flyer clutched in her hand reminded her that the journey was far from over. "Maria, you were incredible!" shouted Sophia, a friend from school, rushing to her side. The infectious energy in her voice made Maria's heart swell. It felt good, so good, to share that joy with someone. Yet, the thrill was tinged with shadows of self-doubt as memories of her mother's anxious face drifted back. Did this applause mean she should pursue the competition? Did she deserve to chase something bigger, despite the fear that clung to her? As the crowd began to thin, Maria spotted her mother, still sitting in the front row, hands clasped in her lap like she was holding on to something precious. The shock still lingered in her eyes, but underneath it was a quiet pride. They exchanged a look, and in that brief moment, Maria realized her mother might let her pursue this dream. The question was whether Maria was ready to step off the edge, to leap into the unknown. "Hey, are you going to sign up?" Sophia asked, cutting into her thoughts. The question sparked a flutter of anxiety deep inside Maria. "What if I fail?" she replied, her voice nearly lost in the chatter around them. "What if it's all just wishful thinking?" Sophia rolled her eyes, a smile playing at her lips. "You can't think like that. Did you see how the audience felt? They were captivated. You could actually win." The words hung in the air, enveloping Maria in possibilities. As she watched Sophia's eyes gleam with encouragement, a surge of determination ignited within her. She wanted to grab this chance, to show her mother no, to show herself that she could be more than just the maid's daughter. Taking a deep breath, Maria replied, "I'll think about it." But even as she said the words, her mind raced. What would it take to be a competitor? She had to prepare, and that meant putting herself out there again, perhaps in a way that felt even more vulnerable than before. The night wore on, but Maria's heart raced with visions of the competition. Each thought bubbled with excitement and dread. What if her next performance was a breakthrough? Or what if it crushed her spirit? The stakes felt higher now. She felt seen, and being visible could cut both ways. Maria's mother approached, gently breaking Maria's thoughts. Her gaze was softer now, devoid of the worry that had twisted her features earlier. "You were magnificent, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you," she said, wrapping her arms around Maria. The warmth radiated between them like a beacon of hope. "Mom," Maria hesitated, her confession hovering between them. "I might sign up for the music competition." Her mother pulled back slightly, studying Maria's face. "And how do you feel about that?" Maria hesitated. "I feel I don't know, excited but scared." Her mother nodded, understanding in her eyes. "It's okay to feel both. Just remember, no matter what happens, I'll always be here." The comfort of her mother's words fueled Maria's resolve. In that moment, it was clear this wasn't just about music or competitions. It was about stepping into her potential and overcoming the fear that had held her back for so long. As Maria glanced back toward the wall, where the competition flyer hung, her heart beat in a steady rhythm of courage and vulnerability. Stepping toward the wall, she felt drawn to the paper like a magnet. But with that determination came a new question. Was she ready to shed the last of her fears and truly accept this journey? As she reached out, fingers brushing the flyer, the crowd faded into the background, and the weight of her dreams coalesced around her. The moment felt electric, charged with the promise of what was yet to come. As the lights dimmed around her, Maria whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning," as the thrill of unwavering possibility coursed through her veins. The leap was waiting, but what would it reveal on the other side? The moment hung in the air, electric with possibilities. Maria's fingertips brushed the flyer, and the doubts that had tied her down began to loosen their grip. It was as if she could feel the weight of the competition pressing against her, daring her to embrace what she wanted. The music inside her soul stirred, awakening a hunger she thought she had silenced. She took a step back, her heart drumming a fast beat. "I can do this," she whispered. The words felt foreign and brave, igniting a small fire in her chest. With a flick of her wrist, she took the flyer down. It was real now. She was committing to something she had only whispered about in her dreams. Sophia beamed, her excitement palpable. "Yes. Let us do it together. I'll help you practice." Maria nodded, drawing strength from her friend's enthusiasm. "Okay, let us do it. I want to be ready." But as they began brainstorming ideas for her next performance, an ominous thought crept into Maria's mind. What if her mother changed her mind? What if, upon reflection, she couldn't accept Maria chasing this dream? The fear gnawed at her like an unwelcome guest, sitting heavy in her stomach. "Sophia, what if—" Maria hesitated, her voice faltering. "What if my mom doesn't want me to do this?" Sophia frowned, biting her lip. "Your mom was proud of you tonight, Maria. She saw you shine. You're not just her daughter. You're an incredible musician." Maria fought back the anxiety creeping in. But what if she thinks it's not safe? What if she worries too much? In that moment, Maria's eyes scanned the crowd, still buzzing around the edges of the dimly lit hall. She caught a glimpse of her mother, standing alone, her expression a mix of awe and concern. The sight tugged at Maria's heart. How could she pursue her dream if it meant risking her mother's comfort, Later that evening, as they walked home side by side, silence blanketed them. Maria's fingers tightened around the flyer, its edges crumpling slightly from her grip. She glanced sideways at her mother. "Mom," she started, uncertainty lacing her voice. "What do you think about the music competition?" Her mother paused, the streetlight casting soft shadows on her face. "I think you should follow your heart," she finally said, a hint of hesitation coloring her tone. "Yes," but Maria took a deep breath. "You worry, and I don't want you to feel anxious for me." Her mother's gaze softened. "Sweetheart, it's natural to worry. But you deserve to be happy. If this is what you want, you would be okay with it." Maria searched her mother's eyes, hoping to find reassurance within that gentle gaze. "Yes," but her mother hesitated again, weighing her words. "Just promise me you'll take care of yourself, no matter what." Joy and fear collided within Maria. She pulled her mother into a tight embrace. "I promise," she whispered against her mother's shoulder, grounding herself in that shared strength. Later, back in her room, Maria couldn't shake off the whirlwind of emotion swirling inside her. Sinking onto her bed, she took a deep breath and let the newly crumpled flyer rest on her lap. She visualized herself on that stage, surrounded by people who believed in her. But a daunting question loomed over her thoughts. Was the pursuit of her dreams strong enough to overcome the deep-rooted fears seated in her heart? Then, as she closed her eyes, an idea sparked, illuminating her inner resolve. She could turn those fears into fuel. With every note she practiced, she could transform doubt into confidence. Would that be enough? The melody of her ambition lingered in the air, inviting her to embrace her path. Yet, she knew this was just the beginning of a greater struggle, one that would require more than just courage. But what would be the next step? Would those fears fuel her fire, or would they rise up like giants against her? The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting golden patterns on Maria's bedroom walls. She stirred awake, her heart racing as she remembered the flyer that now rested beside her. The competition loomed larger than life, a beacon of both hope and anxiety. Today, she decided, would be the day she took her first step toward turning that dream into reality. After breakfast, she sought the quiet of her room. With her guitar cradled in her arms, she began to strum the familiar chords that always brought her solace. Each note resonated within her, melding with the rhythm of her heartbeat. It felt good, like greeting an old friend, yet, with every strum, the darker whispers returned. What if she failed? What if the judges didn't see her worth? She stilled her hands, frustration boiling within her. Why was fear so relentless? It seemed to inch closer, as if it had become a shadow she couldn't shake off. Maria closed her eyes and thought of her mother, her gentle encouragement swimming in her mind. She had promised her she would take care of herself. That promise sparked a flicker of determination. What if she stepped out of the shadows, began to fight for the light? Suddenly, a knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Sophia, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Hey! Ready for our first practice session?" Maria felt a rush of relief mixed with apprehension. "I guess so. Let us see how this goes." They set up in the living room, where the walls were filled with pictures of memories. Sophia handed Maria a notebook. "Let us write your set list. What do you want to perform?" As Maria flipped through the pages, old fears whispered again. Would these songs reach out to others? Would they resonate? Her thoughts merged with the melody she had imagined for the stage. Slowly, she pinned down the titles, one by one. Each stroke felt like a promise to herself. Sophia chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "We can do a mashup. How cool would that be?" "Yeah, that might actually work." The idea sparked a flicker of excitement, pushing away the encroaching shadows. They spent the next hour testing various combinations of songs, laughter echoing in their wake. But amid the joy, the nagging doubt nagged away. What if it's not enough? What if we don't impress the judges? Maria blurted, her hands trembling slightly on the guitar neck. Sophia stopped, her brow furrowing. Maria, it's not always about impressing people. It's about sharing your passion. Remember why you're doing this. Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The realization washed over Maria. This wasn't just about the competition. It was about her love for music. It was about expressing everything she had kept locked inside. After practicing for hours, exhaustion set in. Yet, a change flickered within Maria, a glimmer of what could be. She felt the fire reignite, pushing the fears a step back. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, Maria couldn't escape the nagging question that hovered like a specter. Was following her heart worth the risk if it meant exposing herself to failure? Her stomach twisted with uncertainty. When she finally drifted off, her dreams were filled with the haunting melodies of what could be, the stage lighting brightening a path cloaked in shadows. And deep down, a new thought emerged. What if she could transform that fear into something beautiful? Would she have the courage to perform and show the world who she really was? That uncertainty sparkled in her mind. It was fuel, but would it burn bright or flicker out? The next day, Maria would find out if she could truly embrace the music that called her name. The sun peeked through the blinds, bright and hopeful. Maria sat on the edge of her bed, fingers tapping nervously against her thigh. Today was the day. Today, she'd step off the edge and dive into a world that terrified and thrilled her all at once. As she got ready, her heart raced with every brush of her makeup brush, every piece of clothing she put on. It felt surreal. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized the girl staring back, a girl poised and vibrant yet shadowed by uncertainty. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, drawing in a breath to steady her nerves. Sophia arrived early, bursting with energy. "You look amazing. Are you ready to rock?" Her exuberance was infectious. Maria tried to match her friend's excitement, but the knot in her stomach tightened. They gathered their gear and headed to the venue. The familiar streets transformed under the warming sun, each bustling corner alive with music and chatter from street performers. Maria couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and fear. "Can you believe it? We're actually doing this." Sophia's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. Maria nodded, even though part of her was desperate to back out. But then she thought of her mother, and the kind of courage she always embodied. That thought alone grounded her. "Yeah, we're really doing it." When they arrived at the venue, the atmosphere pulsed with vibrant energy. Musicians gathered, each one representing dreams just like hers. Maria felt small and mighty all at once, but when Sophia squeezed her hand, it gave her just the push she needed. As their names were called for setup, a wave of adrenaline surged through Maria. They plugged in their equipment, the air buzzing with anticipation. But then, doubt crept back in, threatening to squeeze the breath from her lungs. What if nobody cared? What if they failed? "Hey," Sophia said softly, noticing Maria's sudden stillness. "Remember why we're here? It's not just about the competition. It's about us and our music." The warmth of her friend's words melted away the ice that threatened to encase her heart. She needed to release herself from those chains of fear, if only for tonight. As they began their performance, the first few chords felt electric. Lights flashed, and the crowd swelled around them. Maria poured her heart into every note, each strum an invitation to let go of their worries together. But halfway through the set, nerves flared again. She met the gaze of a few judges and felt exposed, under their scrutinizing eyes. Her fingers faltered. And then, Sophia stepped forward, her voice ringing out strong and true. Maria's heart soared watching her friend connect with the crowd, feeling something shift deep within her. The music didn't need to be perfect, it needed to be real. It was about sharing their passion. Feeling that spark, Maria closed her eyes, and let the music guide her. She embraced every emotion bottled inside, transforming fear into a powerful connection. As they finished their final notes, Maria opened her eyes to see the crowd on their feet, cheering. The applause thundered around her, and it felt freeing. They had done it. They had shared a piece of themselves, and it felt beautiful. Later, back at home, the reality of the performance began to settle in. She had faced the stage, and she hadn't been swallowed by the fear. The feeling of being alive resonated in every corner of her heart. But just as she began to allow herself to consider that perhaps this was just the starting line, her phone buzzed with a message. She opened it eagerly, only to find a notification from the competition organizers. Finalists will be announced tomorrow. Her fingers hovered over the screen, a mix of exhilaration and dread washing over her. What if she was one of them? What if she wasn't? In that moment, as she wrestled with hope and anxiety, something deep within her began to recognize a new truth. Whatever the outcome, she had already transformed. Now the question clung to her thoughts. What would this journey reveal about her, and what steps would she take next? Maria woke up the next morning to a world that felt a little brighter, but still waited with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The sun streamed through her window, but this time it felt like a spotlight on her racing thoughts. She could practically hear her heart pounding, echoing the moment she and Sophia had taken the stage. The memory of the cheering crowd lingered, lifting her spirits, yet the text about the finalists gnawed at her. The anxiety was almost palpable as she moved around her small room, the familiar clutter suddenly feeling too heavy to bear. "Breathe," she whispered to herself, staring into the mirror. She didn't recognize the girl from the night before anymore. This was a new version of herself, braver and stronger. But what if that courage had just been for show? What if today's news brought her crashing back to earth? She decided to clear her mind with a walk. As she stepped outside, the cool breeze wrapped around her like a comforting hug. The neighborhood buzzed with activity. Kids darted past on scooters. A dog barked in the distance, and somewhere a lawnmower roared to life. Each sound filled her with a burst of energy, pushing the heavy thoughts aside, if only for a moment. "Hey, Maria!" a familiar voice called. It was Jacob, a boy from her school, casually leaning against his bike. "I heard you at the competition last night. You were awesome. Totally rocking it." His enthusiasm brought a smile to her face, briefly flickering a spark of hope. "Thanks. It was really fun and nerve-wracking, too. You should keep performing. You've got talent." He grinned, then pedaled off, leaving her feeling lighter. She turned down the street, reflecting on his words. Could she really keep going? Did she have what it took to make music part of her life? Later that afternoon, Sophia came over, her bright energy filling the room. "Did you get the results yet?" she asked, eyes wide with anticipation. "Not yet. I'm nervous," Maria confessed, biting her lip. "We're in this together, remember?" Sophia said, pulling Maria into a quick hug. "No matter what happens, we will push through. You've already conquered so much." Before Maria could respond, her phone buzzed again. This time, her heart dropped. The message notification was from the competition. She opened it slowly, dread coiling in her stomach. "Finalists have been announced." Congratulations to her eyes raced across the screen, and her breath caught as she read through the names. There it was, her name, shining like a beacon amid the others. A rush of exhilaration and disbelief washed over her. "I made it, Sophia. I'm a finalist." A burst of joy escaped her lips, followed by laughter that rang through the air. The fear and uncertainty melted away, replaced by pure exhilaration. Sophia jumped up, squealing in delight, almost knocking over a lamp. "I knew you would. We have to celebrate. This is just the start." As the reality of what this meant began to sink in, Maria's thoughts raced. More performances. More expectations. What would her family think? Would they support her choice to pursue music further? But then another thought struck her, a beautiful realization. This was her chance to step into her light, to share her journey and her music with the world. The stage that had once intimidated her now seemed like a platform for her voice to bloom. The excitement surged in her veins as she turned to Sophia, determination glimmering in her eyes. Let us make this count. We've got work to do. As they began brainstorming ways to prepare for the next round, the reality of the competition began to feel less like a daunting mountain and more like an exciting adventure. But as night crept in, a new worry nestled in her mind. What if this journey brought unexpected challenges? What would she sacrifice, and would she have the strength to overcome them? The uncertainty loomed, entwined with the thrill of possibility. Maria felt alive in ways she hadn't before. She was ready for the challenge, ready to embrace all that came next. But deep down she knew the toughest battles weren't just against the competition, they were the ones she would face within herself. As she drifted off to sleep, that question lingered in her mind, whispering through the shadows of her dreams. What kind of artist would she choose to become? Maria awoke the next morning to a sky streaked with vibrant colors, a fresh canvas for the day. The excitement from the night before still tingled in her veins, but it was now mixed with a sense of urgency. With a nod to the sunrise peeking through her window, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. Time to get serious, she murmured, pulling her hair into a messy bun. She rushed through her morning routine, her mind racing with ideas for her performance. What song should she choose? It needed to be something that spoke not just to her, but to everyone in the room. By the time Sophia texted her, Maria was almost bursting with ideas. Ready to rock this? The message read. She could practically hear her friend's excitement through the screen. Absolutely, Maria replied, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Let us meet at the cafe. I have a few ideas. At the cafe, the atmosphere buzzed with the clinking of cups and the chatter of early morning customers. Maria spotted Sophia at a corner table, bouncing in her seat. The moment she sat down, Sophia leaned in. Okay, spill. What is the plan? Maria took a deep breath, her heart racing. I was thinking about performing Rise Up. It's so powerful, and I think it could connect with people. Sophia's eyes sparkled. Yes, that song is perfect for you. It has this energy that could bring everyone together. They spent the next hour sketching out their plan, crafting every detail from Maria's outfit to her stage presence. As they brainstormed, Maria felt that familiar excitement mix with a creeping anxiety. What if I freeze on stage? What if the judges don't like me? Sophia reached across the table, her grip reassuring. You won, T. You've already conquered one stage, and you can do it again. Just remember, it's about sharing your story. Sharing my story, Maria repeated. It sounded easy when Sophia said it, but what did that even mean for her? Could she reveal herself, her fears, her dreams to a room full of strangers? The thought swirled in her mind as they left the cafe, but she quickly pushed it aside. This was her moment. She couldn't afford to let fear hold her back again. As they walked back, Sophia suddenly stopped. Hey, I just realized something. Her eyes gleamed with inspiration. You should write your own song too. Something that truly reflects who you are. Maria's heart skipped a beat. Write my own song? That seems massive. But you can do it, Sophia encouraged. You've been through so much. Channel that into your music. It will be real, it will be you. Though the idea both thrilled and terrified her, a small flicker of determination sparked within Maria. Okay, I'll try. Once they were back at her house, she sat up in her room. The familiar face in the mirror stared back at her, someone who was on the cusp of transformation. Picking up her guitar, she let her fingers hover over the strings, hesitation skimming the surface. What if she failed? Taking a deep breath, she let the chords flow, working through the melody. At first, it felt awkward, but then words began to spill out lines about finding her strength, about rising above doubts, about being true to herself. With each note, she felt a weight lifted. Hours seemed to pass like minutes, the setting sun spilling warm hues across her walls as the song took shape. Just as she finished the last chord, her phone buzzed. It was Jacob. "Hey, I can't wait for your performance. You've got this. Want to practice together?" A grin spread across Maria's face. Suddenly, she didn't feel so alone. The support wrapped around her, melting her fears into potential. She texted back, "I'd love that." With newfound determination coursing through her veins, Maria realized that sharing her story was not just about music, it was about being seen and understood. The path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but for the first time, she felt ready to step into the light, even if it meant exposing her vulnerabilities. As she prepped for her upcoming practice with Jacob, a new question arose in her mind. Could her music truly resonate with others? Would they hear her heart through her lyrics? And that thought lingered in the air like a haunting melody, growing louder with each passing moment, challenging her to rise above once again. The days leading up to the competition flew by in a whirlwind of rehearsals and nervous energy. Maria practiced relentlessly, her fingers gliding over the guitar strings with a confidence she had only dreamed about before. Each note in her self-written song a song dripping with her personal struggles and dreams filled her with energy. She felt empowered, a warrior charging into battle with her music as her weapon. As the sun rose on competition day, Maria's heart raced. Today was the day she would take the stage not just as the Maid's daughter, but as an artist, a storyteller unearthing her truth for everyone to hear. She stood before the mirror, staring at her reflection, the girl who had once felt small now radiating hope and strength. "You are enough," she whispered to herself, a mantra echoing in her mind. When she arrived at the venue, the atmosphere crackled with excitement, but also anxiety. Contestants ran through last-minute vocal warm-ups, some pacing, others stretching. Maria felt slightly overwhelmed. But just then, she spotted Sophia in the crowd, waving like a beacon of warmth. That burst of encouragement filled Maria with a renewed sense of purpose. "Remember, just let the music lead you," Sophia shouted, giving her a thumbs up. Maria's nerves began to soften. She stepped backstage, the adrenaline pounding through her veins louder than ever. The stage loomed like a pedestal of dreams, and before she knew it, her name was called. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the spotlight, blinking against the brightness. The audience blurred into a sea of faces, but her eyes zeroed in on her mother, seated front row with a hopeful smile plastered on her face. This was it. As she strummed the first chord, her breath hitched in her throat. "This is not just about winning," she reminded herself. "This is about sharing who I am." With every note, she poured her heart into her performance. The lyrics flowed like a river of sunlight, illuminating her journey. The crowd seemed to hang on to every word, as Maria's voice rose high and soared, flipping the narrative she had been painted with. The applause from the evening crowd became an echo of acceptance, resonating deep within her soul. When she reached the climactic end of the song, exploding with raw emotion, that connection formed between her and the audience, and together they held that moment suspended in time. A wave of overwhelming relief washed over her as she finished, listening to the roaring applause that followed. The fear that had once gripped her fell away like leaves in autumn. Stepping off the stage, Maria felt a fluttering joy inside her. No matter the outcome, she knew she had accomplished something monumental. Then, the results came in. When the announcer declared Maria's name as the winner, she stood frozen, disbelief washing over her. Tears filled her eyes. This was more than just a trophy. This was validation. As her friends rushed to hug her, Maria spotted her mother's proud tears glistening in the audience. Her heart swelled with love and gratitude, realizing this journey wasn't just hers. It belonged to her mother too. In the end, Maria had not only lifted herself up, she had lifted her mother along with her. And as they embraced in the warmth of the stage lights and applause, their bond mingled with music. Each note carried their sacrifices, their hopes, and blossomed into a shared resilience. Several weeks later, Maria stood on the same stage, not in competition, but sharing her story with an entirely new audience. She had become an advocate for aspiring musicians from challenging backgrounds, pouring all her experiences into melodies aimed at reminding people of their worth. Life transformed beautifully. She had transformed. And through it all, she had discovered that dreams, when woven with love and resilience, burst forth into the world powerful and undeniable. Maria smiled softly, her heart full. Every moment led her to a life filled with music, purpose, and love. And there was still so much more to share. So here's where this journey begins for you too. You need to subscribe now to keep following transformative stories that can inspire you. This is the moment to show your support, and if you enjoyed this ending, leave a like now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about Maria's journey and how you connect with her story. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. It's time to uplift each other.